In this segment, we're going to talk about the development of cultures. The first section in culture is religions and belief systems. So the first religion we have is Judaism. At the heart of Judaism are the Ten Commandments. The Israelites believe that God delivered the Ten Commandments to them through Moses. Some commandments set out religious duties toward gods, others are the rules for correct behavior. In addition to the Ten Commandments, the Torah set out many other laws. Some had to do with everyday matters, such as how food should be prepared. Others had to do with crimes, like Hammurabi's Code. Many of the Israelites' laws tried to match punishments to crimes. At the same time, religious teachers called on leaders to carry out the laws with justice and mercy. The next religion we have is Hinduism. Aryan prayers were passed down through generations. As Aryan culture mixed with India's existing culture, new ideas and beliefs became part of the Vedas. From blending of ideas and belief came one world's oldest living religion, Hinduism. Hinduism has no one single founder, but Hindus have many great religious thinkers. Hindus worship many gods and goddesses. However, they believe in one single spiritual power called Brahman, which lives in everything. Hindus believe that there is more than one path to the truth. The gods and goddesses of Hinduism stand for different parts of the Brahman. An ancient Hindu saying expressed this idea. God is one, but wise people know it by many names. The most important Hindu gods are Brahman, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And this represents an important teaching of Hinduism, which is reincarnation, and it's that the old life is infinity, and the old come in and they come out new. The next religion we have is Buddhism, and one important teaching of Buddhism is the Eightfold Path. And one is the right to understanding, having faith in the Buddhist views on the universe. 2 is the right intention. 3 is the right speech, avoiding lies and meaning of abusive speech. 4 is the right action, not taking life, not stealing, and not hurting others. 5 is the right livelihood. 6 is the right effort, which is avoiding bad attitudes and development of good ones. 7 is right mindfulness, being aware of one's own body. And 8 is right concentration. And Buddhism also believes in reincarnation, just like Hinduism, and nirvana, or lasting peace. And by reaching nirvana, people will be released from the cycle of reincarnation. And this is supposed to represent nirvana. Now we're going to talk about art and technology. Farming tools and metallurgy and the ability to manipulate the environment caused humans to transition from nomadic hunters and gatherers to builders of civilization and empires. In order to farm successfully, people needed tools, a way to transport what they've grown, and a place to store their surplus. Thus, the most important technologies developed in early civilizations, including farming tools, plows, hoes, rakes, and the wheel, and finally, pottery, in which they would store their surplus. From such primitive technologies developed more complex technologies that benefited society in a greater way. The earliest public works projects focused on irrigation, often simple dikes and channels to capture flood water. As cities grew, populations needed a steady water supply and fairly reliable plumbing and sewage system. In large cities like the Indus Valley, they had elaborate public and private sewers, and similar systems were built much later in Roman Empire. The most visible technology was massive architectural monuments built by all civilizations: pyramids, ziggurats, walls, temples, aqueducts, coliseums, theaters, and stadiums, and lastly, roads. These structures were used to assert the authority of leaders, facilitate the functioning of the state, and to keep the population healthy, employed, and entertained. Next, we're going to talk about social structures. So, growing trade links brought new prosperity to the cities. Prosperity led to another change in society, the development of social classes. A social class is a group of people having similar backgrounds, incomes, and ways of living. In large cities, the king was the most powerful. Then it was the clergy, then it was the nobles, then it was the common workers such as artisans and merchants, and the slaves were last. They were human beings owned as property by other people, formed a separate class. Most slaves worked in cities, often as household servants and as laborers. Their status or rank were beneath that of a free person. Now we're going to talk about changes and continuities and the role of women. In hunting-gatherer Paleolithic cultures, the role of women tended to be more important than it would be in Neolithic cultures. While a woman's first duty was always the nurturing of her children, she was also responsible for the gathering part of the hunting-gathering equation. Berries, nuts, seed, edible plants, whatever could be taken from the ground was her domain, and often when the men were unsuccessful in killing animals, these small effort constituted for the tribe's meals. Another role of Paleolithic women was the socialization of their children. Infants began to learn how to speak primarily from their mothers, and since language forms the basis of community, it's through these verbal efforts that humanity ultimately began to learn to cooperate on vaster projects such as large-scale agriculture. Another possible role that women filled included lawgivers, counselors, storytellers, healers, shamans, and magicians. So that is the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed and you learned something. Thanks.